welcome everyone to this special Voices of Terminus show. I'm joined by Lex. Say hello, Lex.
What's up, people?
We have Josh with us.
Hey, guys.
We're technically meant to be on break, but just when we thought we got out, Pantheon pulled us back in. So they did the stream at Twitchcon and just basically finished about 5-6 minutes ago. And they said they had some huge news to announce, and we all heard it. Come the end of the year, towards the holidays, everybody that's pledged as a VIP will be able to finally start their adventures in pre-alpha testing. So, what do you guys think? Are you as hyped? Are you as hyped as the community is now after hearing that? It's real.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Pantheon. I'm excited for the VIPs. I am personally not a VIP, so I will not be joining pre-alpha by choice. So not that excited. The fact that it came around, but I'm excited for people right now.
Yeah, the thing is, the thing to realize is they started off in 2014 in January with their Kickstarter, and now it's basically October 2017. Their initial start for pre-alpha was sometime in 2015. It got pushed back to 2016, and it's been pushed back now to the end of this year, and it's finally going to happen. Now, I think that is still a fantastic time frame that they've covered, considering if you look back at their Kickstarter and the way the game looked then and what it looks like now. They changed the engine, they upgraded from Unity 2.3 point whatever over to Unity 5, so that was a complete new graphic rehaul, etc. and so forth going into that. So I think a 3-year time frame is pretty damn good for a game that only just started off in its Kickstarter back in January 2014. And we have to note as well that Kickstarter didn't even last a whole month. It didn't reach its initial goal, so they had to think of other ways to do it. And they didn't stop. They did not stop. The Kickstarter did not, let them get away from the goal, from what they're trying to achieve. And, we finally can see what all the hard work has done for them. And, I'm just really happy that they've now finally been able to make that goal and to stick to that commitment and to finally let those VIPs get into their pre-alpha, because people have been waiting for a long time, but now basically pinch yourselves, guys. It hurts, it's real. Pre-alpha is coming, so that's a really, really good thing. And I can't wait to see what happens in Discord later when I log in there, because I've turned off my Discord. I'm sure there's going to be hundreds of messages and whatnot going on right now. I'm sure there's a hype party going on somewhere. So, Josh, you being a VIP, how do you feel?
I think it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to the day I can create the character and run around and discover things and test the stuff. And I just mustn't fall into the trap of playing it to death before it actually gets launched. So, yeah, I think it's going to be great.
That's going to be the big obstacle for a lot of the VIPs.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's an MMO. We've all played MMOs, but this one's different. This one is definitely different, and I just can't wait to see what happens. But another thing to note, though, that's very important as well, is Ben, the communication, Director of Communications, also mentioned a couple of more weeks, and you won't be able to pledge for VIP anymore. So everybody that's out there watching right now, who has friends who are thinking about doing it, going to pledge to VIP and everything, let them know that now's the time to do it. The wait is over. If you want to get in, it's now or never.
Yeah, it always happens. Somebody breaks the NDA and everything like that. But nevertheless, try and rob a bank or anything like that. The more people in, the better the game will be at the end of the day.
So let's have a look. What's
the primary goal for NDAs is just in case, they change something. That's the primary goal of NDAs. Like they mentioned something, or a player mentioned something of a mechanic that's not fully fleshed out. It's in the process of being worked on, and everyone throws a fit, and people leave the game.
Mm.
But 2 months later, that's not in there anymore because it was planned to be changed. All NDAs do is avoid miscommunications and confusion. That's all they do.
Yeah, so Smarty basically brought out a question. What are we, as a Voice of Terminus show, going to do to stay unbiased and impartial when we do our shows carrying on? Because as people might know or might not, our shows are still going to carry on. Even during the pre-alpha testing, we're still going to be doing our show. And that's the trick of it all. We have Josh in there as a VIP. We have myself as a VIP. So it's most probably going to come down to basically looking at additional ideas that would help benefit the game that aren't technically related to Pantheon itself. And obviously we will be reaching out to VR to make sure that if we do bring up a topic that we want to discuss, that we don't break any of the NDAs or reveal anything about it. So it's going to be a hand-in-hand hard piece of work for us to communicate back and forth with VR and let them know what we're going to be doing and talking about.
Not for me.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how we're going to basically do it. It's going to be, but technically we've got all the way through to the end of December. We've got everything sussed out. We're not going to be breaking any NDAs or anything like that. The shows that we're going to be doing from when we come back out of our break will be we'll have a few interviews going on, and we'll have a few shows that are ideas that have spun in our head before pre-alpha launch. So, haha, you can't touch this. We ain't breaking any NDAs yet.
Yep.
Don't say yet. Come on.
Never.
No.
Trouble.
Yeah. No, it's good to see them finally reach that milestone. I mean, they've been talking about it for almost since the beginning of the year. Basically, it's been, talk about pre-alpha, getting to pre-alpha. And we've always said, be patient. Give these guys time. It's the same with the graphical situation. People were all crying about the graphics and how it looked. Then they put out the technical art stream. They've still got some work to do, a lot of work. They've still got a long way to go. But they will get there if we give them the time and the support that they need. They will get there to where they want, or we want it to be.
Right. And I mean, just watching the gameplay stream that we saw, like just now, I'm still not happy with the run animation. It's been worked on, but it's not finished because I am definitely not happy with that.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think the feedback that will be given, I think, will help them to improve these things. And I'm sure these are just first animations. Things will get improved over time, I reckon.
Especially now that pre-alpha has more or less been announced. A lot of these little things are going to be pushed to the back burner, simply because with all these testers coming in, there's a lot of stuff that have to go up in priority. You've got to double check all your servers. You got to make sure your queuing system's going to be working. You got to make sure your servers are just ready to handle it. Not to mention stuff that currently is game breaking that might be in there, like we saw on the stream. The person who was playing a warrior. Apparently their warrior fell into a little bug and couldn't log in for very long. That's obviously high priority. That's got to be fixed. That's game breaking.
Yep.
The run animations can wait because it's not game breaking. It's just, for someone like me, that's just an annoyance.
Basically, the thing is, it's going to come down to VR communicating with the community and letting them know that, hey, we are aware of these issues that you guys all have. You don't like the run animations, or you see a problem with the run animations. As long as they acknowledge it and say, hey, we're aware of this, we'll be looking into it. I think that's what it's going to come down to, is the communication between us as players, the community, and VR. Acknowledging that, hey, we've received these bugs. These are the priorities that we're going to be working on. These are the minor issues that we'll be pushing back, but we will address when the time comes, when we've got the room to do it. As long as they work hand in hand with the community, I think it's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, and people must remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
There's no prize for releasing it early. You're just going to fail
Yeah.
your community.
Right.
So you'd rather work on it and make sure it's right when it gets released.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So a few things to note that they mentioned and talked about were the different possibilities of service. So we do know there's going to, Pantheon is PvE focused. Now that's what the team is focused on. That's what that's been their initial goal from the get-go, was a PvE, player versus environment. And when they say environment, they actually mean it. So engaging with the whole entire world, not just the NPCs surrounding us, but the world itself, the weather, traps, this, that, and the other will be affecting us as players. But they also mention that they will be offering PvP servers, and some interesting things to note as well about the PvP servers. They talked about having PvP servers that might be race versus race, or good versus evil, or something to do with arenas or open world PvP. So they've definitely given it some thought and looked into ways that you can expand and offer people all kinds of different ways to engage in the PvP.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear that even though they're not focused on PvP, they are willing to give the PvP audience options.
Yep. Definitely. Depending on what options they're going to be, I might even look at a PvP server, to be honest. We've talked about PvP in a couple of our shows now with some crazy ideas, and we'll have to see what they do. But yeah, this is definitely it's now official, everyone. For all those VIPs out there, come this end of the year, towards the holidays, is when we will be able to log in for the first time and play the game. It's real. We're not just saying this, it's real. Yeah. It's finally happened.
It is officially not vaporware.
Yep.
Yes.
There you have it. So anybody out there who's not pledged, who wants to know more about the game, check out their website. Come join us on our Discord server. We'll gladly fill you in, give you some information, talk to you a bit about the game, and talk to other people. Reach out to other VIPs if you're still not quite sure. But I'm guessing 2-3 weeks maybe is what you're going to have, and then that's it. It will be basically cut off, and your chances to get into the VIP will be over and done.
At that point, it'll just be... actually, I don't know. Did they say they were going to just remove the pre-alpha?
It's basically going to be the VIP packages.
Right.
That will be closed.
But
so
the beta and alpha packages will still be available?
They'll still be available. So you'll have the supporter pledges that will offer you beta access as from $100 onwards. And then you've got the Champions pledges from $250 onwards that offer you the alpha and beta access.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that was it. That was the big announcement. It's finally happened. So you guys got anything else to say to the viewers?
Well, despite the short amount of time we got to see additional gameplay, we did see a lot of additional improvements. We saw new spell gems for the shaman. We saw a little bit and a little inconsistent gameplay with the warrior. Say. They obviously had the aggro system turned off for a lot of it, because it's not going to be that easy to just run through stuff.
Yeah.
We saw Amber Fate.
Nice.
Yeah. With the new lighting and the shadows and everything, looks great. I love it. My concerns about the brightness from the last technical stream, it obviously confirmed it's not an overly bright game by default. So there is controls for brightness, obviously, and this is good news for me. It's back to the tone that it was before, which I like, the darker style. We saw additional spell effects.
Yeah, the spell effects were pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed them as well.
Yeah, we saw the shaman pet looked like it got massively improved.
Mm-hmm.
It is a wolf. We don't know if there are any other ones or if it changes as they level, but the fact that it's there and it no longer looks like it's been chasing parked cars is great.
I also think that you can easily get into a heap of trouble in the game by the looks of it. Lose your group, get turned around, you got no chance of getting back in one piece. You got to be so careful. So this isn't going to hold your hand the whole way, that's for sure.
Right. And I'm sure it will be a little hand-holdy at first, especially for anyone who might be new to the MMO space. Granted, because of WoW, there might not be that many, but you have to. You can't assume everybody's an expert, you know. So I would expect that like a little bit of hand-holding for like the first 3 or 4 levels, maybe. But then from that point on, just be like, all right, off with you.
So to the deep end with you.
So I've got the stream running as one of them on our screen as well, so people can view it as we talk through it, and we can see the difficulties coming up that Ronick had. Poor soul. Yeah, the wrong time to have issues, to have bugs come up.
All I can say is better him than me, because the F-bombs would have been flying out of my mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But, I mean, when they were discussing the boss encounter, one of the first ones that they put in, I'm guessing it's that one from that Bring Friends video they released.
That big thing sitting on the snow area.
No, they were talking about it was in Halnir's cave.
Oh, that skeleton guy, yeah, that skeleton guy.
I'm guessing it's from that,
Ganesha or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing it's from that Bring Friends video. But when they were discussing, you go and you engage them, the doors close. Essentially locking out people who could potentially steal you. I mean, that's a great little mechanic for stuff like that. It does add immersion, because all of a sudden, the threat gets real. You can no longer leash this guy. You can no longer get out of the area. You can't run to a zone line. It's, this door is closed. We had best be ready.
Yeah. And another thing to note as well was, they asked Brad about, raids, instancing. So, there'll be no instancing in Pantheon, and the dungeons and raid zones will be stupidly massive. Is the wording that not exact wording but Brad said, but he, close to that. They are huge. Yeah. They are basically huge. And an interesting thought is with the raiding. He mentioned, like, if you've got like 20 people or 40 people that engage a raid encounter that is, fixed for a size of 20, he ain't going to stand there and let himself get beat down. He might call for friends, or he might run away, or whatever, because of the behavior patterns that he has in there. So the smart AI, technically. And I think that's great. No more zerging. No more zerging NPC encounters. And it adds for that unique immersion, that unique... You don't know what's going to happen every time you go in there, depending on what kind of group setup you've got, or raid setup, or attitude the encounter is going to be in. You do not know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I would like to voice my concerns about that system, just briefly, though. I mean,
yeah, sure.
Say your raid goes in for an encounter that is tuned for 20 people, and you're running a raid of 20 people. A single person could potentially grief that raid to the point where they give up, because all of a sudden this random person will follow the raid in, will engage. All of a sudden you're at 21 of 20, and maybe the boss runs away. I'm hoping that their level of AI would take certain things like that into account, so that if it's only one over, maybe it won't be something as drastic as he despawns and runs away, or maybe it's just he'll spawn a few ads, but I mean that still runs into the same issue.
I mean, that's the thing that I was talking about with Resim yesterday, I think it was. The fact that going into a dungeon and engaging into a named encounter And because of all the different behaviors that you have, I think it's eight different behaviors, was it? Seven?
I believe so.
7 or 8 different behaviors. Now,
There's quite a few.
Let's say, for instance, you engage this encounter, he calls for help. Now, he brings in help that also have behaviors. So, you're never going to really figure out 100% what's going to happen every time you go into that dungeon. That's what really makes me feel excited about this game, is going into this game and not really getting my grasp around everything, how it happens. Obviously, at one point you're going to go through 8 different behaviors. So you're going to know, like, this is this behavior. But that does not necessarily mean that if he calls for help, that the NPCs that are coming are going to call for help or run away or do this. There's 8 different possibilities that they could do. So that's already 16 different possibilities from the named encounter calling for help and then them doing something.
Right.
So you'll never really be able to figure out the pattern. You'll figure out basically their behavior. What they're, you'll see maybe an animation or however they're going to do it. You'll figure that all out, but you still have to always adapt on the go. Yeah. We're not going to run in there.
I mean, call me a fool, but I never heard them actually say that they were going to attach a disposition system to raid bosses. So I had assumed that they were going to be statically scripted. Bit of a bummer, but raid bosses are usually pretty hard. They have a very unique set of mechanics to them.
Yeah.
Right, that requires a very focused teamwork. Throwing in a bit of randomization into that mix can potentially
cause a problem.
Be very detrimental to your experience. For example, SWTOR doing the Eternity Vault. I was in a raiding guild. We were doing that pretty early on after release, and the encounter was so buggy that what you had to do is you had to pull the raid boss when he was shielded underneath this shard and have it drop on him. But when it dropped, it was a 50-50 chance that the server would bug out and say that it hits your tank and not the boss. So whenever you add a little bit of randomization to a boss encounter, I immediately think that, and I just start to cringe. I really, I mean, I'm not doubting them. I'm really not. But I would really just have my fingers crossed that they do lots and lots and lots of testing. Like, pre-alpha guys, please, for the love of God, raid this stuff. Figure out what the problem is. Find out how to exploit that. Just really just get in there and try to muck up the gears. Don't just run in and try to get loot. Just really try to muck it up.
I'd like to think that the people from SWTOR were more story focused than they were raid focused, and that's what messed up a lot. Than Pantheon, but yeah, right. I think they'll get it right.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, it all depends on how they're going to line up their raid encounters, their dungeon encounters. Maybe some of them will have that static feel, that static behavior. Ones that are maybe important to a certain quest line or storyline or the storytelling of the game, whereas other raid encounters add that additional little flair of having dispositions and behaviors and really just messing. I mean, I can see it now. A raid encounter having dispositions and behaviors, and you just go in there and it's like you're ripping out your hair because God damn it.
and here, I mean, because we don't know a lot of the information, I mean, do these raid encounters, are they stuck to a specific disposition or maybe a small subset of dispositions? So, like, say, for instance, this big rock golem, he can't be an alarmist kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if he is reset, if he despawns, or however they want to run that particular boss, does his disposition change? Does his disposition only change upon death? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, those are things that that's the great thing about it. Getting into testing, figure this stuff out, and help the developers find ways to combat these issues that might turn up. Because definitely from a raiding perspective, that I could see that as an issue, frustration. going in there, and every time you go in there, something different happens. There's going to be a point in time where you just want to just
slam your head against the desk. And
yes, yes. So I'm sure there's going to be a mix. I think the safest way to do this would be to have some of those raids that are fun, that don't really hold much to the storyline or to your quests or your updates for special items and whatever. They're basically your static. They have maybe 1 or 2 different behavior patterns or dispositions. You have to figure that out. You go in there, you figured it out, boom, off you go. Whereas others that could still be challenging and be a minor influencer within the storyline. They could be a bit of, I think they could do a nice balanced mix of this for raiding would attune for interesting times, because another thing that I find interesting about the dispositions and behaviors, it makes it even harder for the raid forces as well. This is what challenge and competitiveness, this is where it gets down to, this is a real challenge, because they also talked about NPCs leaving a certain zone because they got their ass kicked. They've been beaten up just one time too many. They get up and they go somewhere else, and now new inhabitants come in. That's another thing that I find really intriguing, and that brings depth and immersion to it, because you don't know what's going to happen. I can't tell you. I was saying this to somebody yesterday. I can't remember if it was you, Josh, or Resin, but I was basically saying, like, you get a quest update from your perception quest, Josh, and you got it from Halnir's Cave. Your faction was, you had enough faction, or you basically triggered a certain item. But because of this, all of this stuff happening around the world, behaviors, dispositions, faction, this, that, and the other, and the fact that maybe the NPCs moved out of Halnir's Cave and others came in, I go down there to go and get my presumed update, but nothing happens because the wrong encounters are in there.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So that adds to challenge as well, and that's also a time sink. A brilliant time sink is the fact that this could happen. You won't be rushing from level 1 to 50 anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think, well, most MMOs will save raiding for endgame, or whatever the end game level is, right?
Yeah.
At the time for what the current era. I think what will go a long way to kind of getting rid of that mindset would be to add raids for lower levels.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, what's wrong with a bunch of level 20s getting together to go into a certain area that's tuned for that? As long as it's tuned for that, it's still going to be fun, and you can get your raiding itch scratched.
Well,
I mean, personally, that's what I've done. I've really gotten to an urge of raiding when I get to like level 40 out of 50, and then I grind those last 10 levels out so that I can get to raiding.
Yeah.
But it's already stated on the FAQ as well. Will raiding be a part of the game? Yes, it will be, but it's not their core focus, and it's not just endgame content. It's something that will accompany you throughout your ongoings from, let's say, level 10 to level 50 throughout the whole entire game. It's a companion. Raiding is a companion. The true focus is on the socializing within groups, exploring the world, and engaging in the environment.
Yeah.
So, yep, and there's that cave again, Halnir's Cave.
That's lovely.
It is.
It's beautiful, that.
Yes. So, again, everyone who still hasn't been able to get their minds around it, VR have officially announced that pre-alpha for the VIPs will be coming this year.
In time
for the holidays. But, the thing is, they didn't elaborate on that.
No, they didn't.
You guys in America, you've got Thanksgiving coming up. That's considered a holiday weekend as well. So
I
when?
I would assume that December would be
Yes,
the one,
yes.
just to give themselves the most time to prepare.
I was just messing around. You know, I thought I'd put one in there.
My birthday's a holiday, right?
Yep. So come the final holidays of the year, 2017, just in time for guys to relax under the Christmas tree, sitting next to the fireplace, sipping a glass of wine, thinking what you're gonna do. Pantheon's gonna be there. You can log into the game, and anybody who's still on the fence, thinking about should I invest, should I get in, is it worth it? Speak to Vips, speak to other people within the community, and just remember, 2-3 weeks time is what you're gonna have, and then that's it. It's gonna be shut off. You won't be able to get into pre-alpha, but you can still get into alpha and beta through the champions and supporter pledges.
And how many of you actually wanted to click on the icon on his desktop? Man, that icon looked good. That Pantheon icon.
Yep.
I saw login information. I was like, oh, please don't show me the asterisks. I'm going to log in using an account.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So, anything else you want to add to everybody? I'm done. I'm just so happy that it's finally coming.
Cigarettes and a towel time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I bet your Shy's currently doing that right now. Cigarette and a towel, baby. So
well, I think we more or less covered everything. I mean, we could technically get into it and dissect the gameplay, but we're on vacation. Damn it!
I know exactly.
Exactly.
So
I haven't worked this much on the show in the last 2 years as I have this week, and I'm on vacation. What? Come on.
So, everybody, thanks for joining us and hanging out as we got to speak about what happened at TwitchCon. It's real. The hype is real. The game is real. Pre-alpha will be hitting us very, very soon, and that also meaning once pre-alpha starts, they're on their way to alpha. So that's the thing. You guys that don't make it into VIP or don't want to pledge into the VIP, you guys can now look forward to alpha heading your way sometime 2018 maybe. So look forward to that.
Exactly.
So we've basically made the first hurdle of reaching pre-alpha, and now you guys can look forward to alpha hitting you some point.
Yep.
So with that, guys, we're going back on break. Yeah.
Until
Damn
the
it.
next time.
Yeah.
In this break.
No. I got a good feeling. I got a good feeling that we should be clear until the 9th when we get back. So on the 9th of November is when we're back officially.
Right.
We'll be talking about the halflings that they released in the latest newsletter. The concept art.
Amazing.
Yep, they look brilliant. We're going to be talking about that, looking at some of the lore that they revealed, and we're also going to talk about what we said back way then when we talked about the halflings as a race, how we saw them, how we thought they were going to be. So we're going to do a comparison of what he said, she said kind of thing. And yeah, looking forward to it. So we'll see you all on the 9th. And I hope VR do not stream out until then.
Yeah.
Hear that, Brad? Stop streaming so we can go on vacation.
Yeah.
Wait till November.
Yeah, the 9th. The minimum. The 9th. Alright, guys.
Unless we're a part of it.
Exactly. Keep us in there.
Yeah. Alright, have a great weekend, guys, and the hype is real.
Okay, I'm here to represent all the non-VIPs. let them have their fun, guys. They can fix all the broken stuff for us.
Alright, take care.
Cheers, guys.